Hey, everybody. My name is Amanda Tosoff.
And I'm Renee Rosnes.
And we are 2/3 of Music Education Hub Music Arts Collective. The other 1/3 is Francesca Fung, who is managing the chat. So say hello to her in the chat and definitely let us know where you're tuning in from, because we'd love to hear where you are. We're so excited about today. This is actually number 10 of our live streams that we've been doing since September. And we've had some fantastic special guests: Celine Peterson, Heather Bambrick, Emily Claire-Barlow, Lila Bialy, Sharantha Bedegay, a whole bunch of others. And you can definitely go check those out on our YouTube or our website, as well as some other workshops that we've been doing, including one that's coming up that's appropriately themed for this week, International Women's Day. It's a Sisters in Jazz Day that is for all ages and levels, and we hope that you'll go check that out from our site. And we'll be doing some improv and composition workshops, as well as some listening to some legends of jazz, some legendary women of jazz. So you can go check that out.
Speaking of amazing jazz legends, we are so excited to have the amazing Renee Rosnes on our live stream to celebrate International Women's Day, which is tomorrow. And let me tell you a little bit about Renee, because most of you, I'm sure, already know who she is. But when you actually talk about all that she has done in her career, it's pretty amazing, impressive, and incredible. So Renee is really one of the premier jazz pianists and composers of her generation. When she moved to New York City from Vancouver, she quickly established a reputation of high regard. She toured and recorded with such jazz masters as Joe Henderson, Wayne Shorter, Bobby Hutcherson, J.J. Johnson, James Moody, and she's still performing with the legendary bassist, one of my personal favorites, Ron Carter. She's a charter member of the all-star ensemble, the San Francisco Jazz Collective. She toured with them for 6 years, and she has released and recorded 17 acclaimed recordings. Her 2016 recording, Written in the Rocks, was named one of the best jazz albums of the year by the Chicago Tribune and was awarded a 2017 Juno for Best Jazz Album of the Year. That was actually her 5th Juno Award. She is a virtuoso composer, virtuoso pianist. And one of the things we love so much about her is not only is she a brilliant band leader and composer and in her own right, but she also is an amazing accompanist. And she's married to jazz pianist Bill Charlap, and they often perform in a 2-piano setting. She's also featured on 4 tracks from the wrong century, 2015 Grammy Award winning Tony Bennett and Bill Charlap. So she's on a Grammy-winning album as well. But her latest project is as music director for Artemis. It's an international all-star band featuring vocalist Celine McLaurin-Salvant, clarinetist Danette Cohen, trumpeter Ingrid Jensen, another BC jazz friend, tenor saxophonist Melissa Aldana, bassist Noriko Ueda, and drummer Allison Miller. And we're going to chat a little bit about Artemis, given that it's International Women's Day, and they happen to be not only some of the top musicians in the world, but they all happen to be all women, which is kind of outstanding and amazing. So we have lots of stories. And one of the things before we invite Renee on is just to let you know that Amanda and I have a close personal connection with Renee because she's from the West Coast of Canada, which is where we grew up as well. So she was the lighthouse, the beacon for both of us as we were starting to figure out our own musical paths. So to say that she is a hero to us would be an understatement. And to say that we are excited would be an understatement. So let's please welcome Renee Rosnes to the stage. Yay!
Yay! Welcome, Renee. Hi, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Wonderful to see your faces with no masks.
Oh, yes. Amazing. Well, we're really excited to talk about some really fun topics, and also hope that people in the chat will ask some questions that you're willing to answer, because I know there's going to be many. So super excited to get into it. So Jody, do you want to start it off?
Yes. So the first thing we just want to always ask our guests is, what is your musical background? What's the story? What got you on piano? What got you on this path that you're on today? So your earliest formative stories, and what started you on jazz, being a young woman growing up in the North Shore of Vancouver?
Well, I'll make it brief. I began piano lessons at age 3. And the reason I started so young was that I had 2 older sisters who were already taking lessons, and Mom said I was trying to imitate them. So that's why I started with the lessons so young. So I don't really remember a time when I didn't play, at least play the piano. At age 5, I also began violin lessons, and I continued both of those instruments with lessons on both instruments through until I went to university. Then I quit the violin ostensibly, even though I still own one, and I do mess around with it sometimes. In high school, I was blessed to have a very passionate and enthusiastic and knowledgeable band director, whom I imagine both of you know, is Bob Repliati, over in North Vancouver at Handsworth. And he introduced me to jazz. He recruited me for what was then called the stage band. I don't know if they still call it that.
I don't think so.
And my whole new musical world opened up for me, and I fell in love with the sound of the music, and specifically I was intrigued with the art of improvisation. So in a nutshell, that's my time in Vancouver musically.
Amazing.
I was just going to say that I remember Handsworth. I know Lila Viali and Brandy Disterheft both went there, and I remember them being the rival school.
Darcy James Argue too.
Yeah,
to Handsworth. Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
Them being the rivals of our schools.
We were at Semiamu.
Anyway, it's a good music program.
Right.
Amazing. Well, I guess the next question that I'm curious about is just how you got yourself to New York. I know that myself thinking about going there, it sounds terrifying getting up on the stage with all these amazing musicians, and I'm just wondering, like, how did you find the confidence as a young woman heading to New York to get up on stage with people like Joe Henderson and all these wonderful legends of jazz? And I'm just wondering, and not only have courage, but you thrived in that environment. And I'm just wondering, like, how did you build that courage and confidence, and what does it take to get up on stage and do that? We're just wondering if you could speak to a little bit of that.
Sure. Yeah, that's a rather broad question.
Yes.
I'll take it in steps. I mean, initially I went to New York armed with a Canada Council of the Arts grant, and my intention was to go and live there for a year and study and immerse myself in the music and in the city and meet players and jam and just study as hard as I could. And within that first year, I realized soon after I arrived that I really wouldn't want to go back to Vancouver right away, because I felt like I was growing a lot and playing and meeting so many great young musicians, people who were of like mind and enjoyed the same kind of music, and I had opportunities to play with a lot of people. And then towards the end of the first year, I had a phone call from Joe Henderson, who asked me if I would be interested in joining him on a European tour. And I'd never met Joe before. I believe that I was recommended to him through the great drummer Terry Lynn Carrington, whom he'd also asked to go with him on the same tour, but she was busy with numerous projects, I'm sure, even at that time. So, I was floored and thrilled and of course accepted the invitation. And I I don't know that, and moving on to the second part of your question about having courage or, I never thought of it that way. I just knew that I had to become the best player I could. I actually didn't even have any thoughts at that time about how unusual it might be for a woman jazz musician. Of course, pianists are more, there's more of them than, say, drummers or, trombonists, trumpet players, etc. But for me, it was all about just preparation. And I had butterflies and was I don't know what the word is, not worried, but challenged with trying to do my best. But the only way I felt to deal with those feelings was just to be as prepared as I could be. And that's kind of something that holds true today, too. That's really the key to gaining courage, is just to be as prepared as you can. And of course, that never ends, right? As musicians and what we do, especially in this music, it's never ending. We're always searching for deeper ways to play, and just the tradition of this music is so huge, and there's just so much to learn and to study that it's a lifetime pursuit.
Amazing. Preparation. Wow. So, man, that's amazing. I like that you acknowledged though and called them butterflies rather than like anxiety or terror. It was like, oh yeah, it's almost this like yearning to do your very best or something, like, and just this like excitement to do your best. It's like switching the negativity. I love it.
I mean, I remember playing after the European tour with Joe, which was incredible, and just to tour Europe. It wasn't the first time I'd been there, but it was the first time as a musician, as a professional musician touring. And just traveling all over the world with this amazing saxophonist and playing night after night and hearing his level of consistency. It was just so inspiring. He'd get through a solo on any given piece, and I would just be thinking, oh, God, I have to play after that,
Yeah.
But it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. And I remember when we came back to New York and we played at the Vanguard, and that was my first, the Village Vanguard Club in New York City. It was my first time playing there. And it seemed like every hero that was in the city at the time of mine, every pianist that I admired, came down. Tommy Flanagan, Peter Walton, Michelle Petrucciani, Ronnie Matthews, George Cables, Richie Byrack came down that week. I mean, just all these, and it was overload for me. I had to just play, and I couldn't concentrate on the fact that all those people were in the audience from night to night, and I have neglected to mention that was the rhythm section I toured with Joe was an all-woman rhythm section, which was Sylvia Cuenca on drums and a bassist named Kim Clark. And Kim actually was 7 months pregnant on the road. So that was quite an experience for her and for us. And she had taken leave of the band for obvious reasons, and in came Marlene Rosenberg from a great Chicago.
She's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Marlene and Sylvia and I at the Vanguard, and so that was just it was an eye opener. It was kind of what did they say? Baptism by fire.
Yeah, I think that there's a slight, I don't know about you, Amanda, but that idea of like actually being in New York, playing with someone and having the entire like jazz history show up at the club or something. It's almost like nightmarish in a way. I think you know, that's when the preparation must kick in. Like, I'm prepared. I'm just going to do my thing. To not just anchoring in my skill will help get rid of all that. Look at all those people in the room.
Well, the music is what's on your mind, and the music is inspirational. And the moment you start to think too deeply about or analyze what you're doing, that's when you run into trouble. I feel that whenever there's issues in the bandstand, of especially any kind of nervousness, I mean, the best thing you can do is just stop focusing on yourself and listening to what everyone else is playing, and that'll just right away, or at least should.
Absolutely.
So you know, that was that experience, and then I had a similar experience on the telephone with Wayne Shorter. I had never met Wayne, and he called, and it was actually kind of humorous because I was at a friend's place across the street in Brooklyn. This is when I was living in Brooklyn, and I was just hanging out there, and she received a phone call from my roommate who said, "I've just given Wayne Shorter your phone number, and he's going to be calling there for Renee in a minute, and I just wanted to let you know." And I was like, "Huh? What? Really?" And so I did. He called, and I spoke with him, and that was thrilling. And of course, I was equally with Joe. I was just a huge fan, and couldn't believe I was talking with him on the phone. And there was one funny story. I forgive the audience, whoever's heard this story before, because I have shared it numerous times, but it's humorous a bit, I think. He asked me if I'd seen the movie Alien on that first phone call. And I actually hadn't, so I let him know. And he said, well, in so many words, he said, it's a prerequisite for joining the band. And he said, well, don't worry about it, because when you come to San Francisco to rehearse, we'll watch it together. So cut to the chase. We got to San Francisco, and we did watch the movie together one evening. And at the moment, there's a scene where the alien, I think it's called the chest burster scene, where the alien comes out of William Hurt's character's chest. And so Wayne takes the remote control, and he stops it at that moment. He said, "See that? That's how I want my band to sound."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
What did you think? Were you like, yeah, I can do that?
I wasn't exactly sure what to think, but that's also because I didn't know Wayne that well at that moment. And it became very clear not long after that. He's talking about the element of surprise, you know, just, I don't know whether it was necessarily he meant the shock value, but just the art of drama and the use of drama within music. And of course, his music is full of drama, and his own playing is full of drama. So, you know, that was just, I had to, with Wayne, he speaks in metaphor very often. So you have to kind of just read between the lines. And usually there's something very profound there. So it's worth it. It's worth the thought.
I love that story so much. That is amazing. That's amazing. Imagine if that's what music school was like. You just watch, play like this.
It should be more like that.
Yeah, watch this. Okay, make a song like this. Well, which gets us actually into composition and creativity. Actually, this is a really good segue because actually off camera, Amanda and I were just chatting about one of the things we love about your writing is the way you connect other art forms to your art. And so you draw inspiration from, you know, you like live artfully, you and art, you know, your whole life is art, and you're drawing inspiration from all of these different things, including nature, you know, your lived experience, your personal narrative, you know, collaborating with different artists in different ways. So this is more of a general creativity question. I'm always really curious about creative process and like what inspires you to compose. What are your conditions for creating? When do you start to work on a project? How long does it take? I know these are a lot of questions and big questions, but maybe you could just speak of like, perhaps, when you write a piece or you decide, like, where did the concept for maybe Written on the Rocks come from? Like, was there something that happened that was like, oh, that's really interesting, or a chain of events? Because I know it was based on science, basically, right? Darwinism and evolution. So just maybe you could talk us a little bit through, like, how do you get that germ of an idea and then you sort of run with it to make a thing, like from germ of an idea to the manifestation? Like, what does that look like?
There's no real one way. It comes, my inspirations, as you mentioned, come from a lot of different aspects of life and nature. And being Canadian, I think I'm also very much drawn to the metaphors in nature, and just I don't know if there's a Canadian sound per se. But if there is, it's probably somewhat in the silences. There's just an open feeling to a lot of original compositions by Canadians. And I'm thinking of somebody like Kenny Wheeler. I mean, when I hear his music, I can hear nature in it. I don't know whether he felt that way exactly, even though I actually did interview him at length. I don't remember him talking about nature, but I think that's kind of a through thread for a lot of Canadians. Not that other people don't draw inspiration from nature as well, but it happens. It depends, I mean, I take many different ways to find melodies, find hooks, find bass lines, find rhythms. And usually I can be inspired not just from something visual, but also if I'm listening to even a piece of classical music or something, I will hear something that, turns my ear and think, oh, how can I use that? How can I take that particular harmonic moment and grow something from it? Also, it could just be a plain voicing. On the Written on the Rocks album, there's a piece called Lucy from Afar. And the very first chord is just a voicing I heard Chick Corea play. Of course, he was a master. Rest in peace. We're going to miss him so much.
I know.
But, just one chord. And then I was just messing around with that. I just loved the chord. And I thought, let me try and grow something from this. Usually it's all quite organic. I've been writing a new album, which I've actually completed all the writing for, and I'll be recording it actually at the end of this month. And I've had, that's one thing about the pandemic is as much of a drag as it is, I've had more time than I ever have to write. So that's kind of a blessing, it's just luxurious that way. Anyway, so one of the pieces on it is basically dedicated to one of my favorite younger, well, it's not young anymore, a few years older than me, but I'm comparing him with like Duke Ellington. So middle-aged, I guess I have to say now. But anyway, Donald Brown. I don't know whether you're hip to Donald Brown, but one of my favorite albums is an album he recorded called Cause and Effect. And if you're not familiar with it, you should check it out because I just love his writing. Anyway, so I wanted to write a piece kind of in, not necessarily in tribute to him, but inspired by him. So, there were just certain little things that Donald uses, and I thought, how can I make that my own? How can I take this little rhythmic idea and put it into this, but not, I don't want to be, what's the word, plagiarizing anything.
Right.
I want to use it as a seed, as you said. There's lots of ways to go about it, and I probably tried to explore them all. And You know,
Well,
whatever it is, you know, it can even be such a thing for me as, oh, I've never composed a piece in B minor before. Let me try that, you know, just something simple like that.
that is so amazing. One of the things that stands out for me about that is this idea of like, again, just living in this sort of expanded space where you're constantly, getting inspired, not throwing it out or just grabbing it, putting it in a basket and seeing what you can do with it. And it seems like that's part of why you're so prolific, and you just, it's like this state of wonder you're in all the time. Like everything's exciting or interesting. And you're like, wow, that story about, evolution's interesting. Or, I'm seeing an Emily Carr painting and it's inspiring me. I mean, I'm going to use that as this inspiration. And I think that's one of the things about your writing that's so, I don't know, I think probably Amanda and I would both say it's been so inspiring for us, is because really, in a way, we all are living in a life and we can do that in our own world, be listening to an album and be like, we all have stories like that of like a weird, moment where you're like, that turned into a whole thing because you just happen to notice the moment.
Right.
Notice the beauty, notice the chord, notice the story, notice the painting, notice the relationship. Yeah,
I think
it's pretty cool.
There's a mindset of just being open to it and being able to receive inspiration that might be right there in front of you. Another piece on the new album. And I haven't heard any of these pieces with any musicians yet, so I'm really looking forward to hearing how it lines up with what I've been imagining for the last year. But last spring in my yard here, there was a bird that was singing, and it had this little melody. I can't sing myself, but it was da 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 da. And it was up an octave, but that was it. And it kept kind of haunting me, and I'd go out in the morning and I'd hear it. I couldn't see it, and I still don't know what it is. So I'm really looking forward to this spring because I've now got an app on my phone. It's a birding thing. And as soon as I hear it, I'm running out to my phone, and it's supposed to identify the bird, So I'm still kind of searching for a title for the song, because it would be nice to reference that particular bird, because I've taken this little, motif and turned it into a piece.
You need to give the bird some writing credits.
That's right. And, I'm sure you know Maria Schneider, the great composer and arranger. Well, she's a birder. She's an actual, she goes out and goes birding. And so I sent it to her, and I said, I wrote it out on the clef and sent her a little clip. I said, do you know what this is? And well, she said the nearest thing could be a black-capped chickadee, but it doesn't do that part at the beginning. So, anyway,
oh my gosh, that does not surprise me about Maria Schneider at all. You can, again, you can hear that in her music, right?
That's
melodies of the world, the nature, just, oozing through her music, which is why it resonates with us, I think,
Yeah. And you mentioned Emily Carr, which obviously she's a great Canadian painter whose work I've loved for many years. And I didn't really realize until I moved away from Canada how much the West Coast art and Indigenous art also plays a role, or how much I missed seeing it. So the piece on my last album, the title track, Beloved of the Sky, Scorned as Timber, Beloved of the Sky. And, Emily, not on first name basis with her, but Emily Carr's work, it's deeply connected to nature. And there's just something about it that evokes a real emotional response in me. And that particular piece, I could say, musically kind of related to the subtle degrees of light and the complexities of the the harmony and the simplicities or complexities, I should say, of the harmony and the rhythm. They're reflected somehow in that particular piece, with the tree reaching to the sky, and start with this chord that goes up and it's kind of dissonant, and which was the dissonance referred to Emily Carr's displeasure at the logging, So the just little subtle things that it's actually kind of fun just to see how you can make tone poems, or how you can relate the image into music, even though it's certainly not it's not a hard fact. It's really just how anyone else can look at a painting and draw something from it of their own, and that's the way the music should be heard too.
Yeah.
No one way to listen to it or to feel. Everybody hears different things.
Sorry, Amanda, did you want to?
I was just gonna say, I love all this that you're talking about. I'm getting so many ideas. I feel like I should practice after this or compose after this. Yeah. Well, speaking of another project, I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about Artemis. I've been enjoying this album so much. I know you released it, I think in September, correct?
Yeah,
I think in
that's
early
right.
September. Yeah. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about this project and how it started, where it came about.
Well, it initiated back in 2016. A promoter in France gave me a call and asked if I would like to put together an all-woman band to celebrate International Women's Day in Paris, and also in Luxembourg. And I hadn't really taken part too much in assembling all women bands, just because it just seemed, why would you do that? You just play with whoever you want to play with, regardless of gender. But there were lots of musicians that I would like to play with who happened to be female. So that first band encompassed Terry Lynn Carrington on drums, Linda May Han O on bass, and then the rest of the band was what Artemis is now, which is Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, vocalist, clarinetist Anat Cohen, Melissa Aldana on tenor saxophone, and Ingrid Jensen on trumpet, and Noriko Ueda bass, and Allison Miller on drums. I think you already said all that, so I'm being a bit.
It's okay. We can always hear them more. All of those names. Let's speak them loudly.
So we just had so much fun on those first concerts playing that we talked about trying to do more together. So in 2017, we put together a tour. The band still wasn't called Artemis. It was called, that particular tour was labeled Woman to Woman. And we did a 14-city tour. And again, it was just a lot of fun. We had fun on stage, we had fun off stage, and we said, let's continue. So we came back to New York, and then we thought about branding the band with a name. And it was Ingrid who came up with Artemis. And we did a particular performance at the Newport Jazz Festival in 2018, where the president of Blue Note Records, Don Was, happened to be in the audience, and he invited us not long after that to join the label. So that's where the where the record recording, that was the blossoming of the recording contract, and we also did a fantastic, exciting show at Carnegie Hall as well. So that was something I'll never forget.
Oh, well, we were just chatting. It's interesting because Amanda and I, obviously being women jazz musicians, are often asked about being women jazz musicians. And
Yes.
for many, many years, I think we both really avoided talking about it because we wanted to be just play the music, just play gigs and be hired because, we were able to contribute in our way. And I think both of us love accompanying and started off playing in other people's bands and wanting to be in the rhythm section and just hired by other people. And it's been very recently that we've felt like wanting to talk about it a bit more. And part of it, seeing, I think, Artemis and also all the stuff Terry Lynn Carrington is doing around this is helping us feel a little bit more encouraged and to speak about some of the stuff around just raising the amount of women getting more involved in this music, because as you speak about, we have so much fun. Like, we enjoy music so much. It's so much fun. Playing jazz is joyful and fun and creative and gorgeous. And we're always like, more of you should join. So really just how do we encourage more women? And so my question for you is, a lot of us would say, yeah, it's just about the music. Just, learn, do the work, and the music will take care of you if you take care of the music. But obviously with this, it's a bit more of a statement. We're leaning into more of okay, here are these group of fantastic musicians who happen to be women, and we're kind of stepping out to just, here we are. So I'm just curious how you felt about, because obviously you're a brilliant musician and a world-class artist. But I'm sure there were times where there was, it was pointed out or you were made to I'm just curious what your story around that was, because it must have changed a little bit in the past few years, maybe because you had a group of women that you were just like, yeah, this is just going to be great music, full stop. So it's ready so I'm just curious what your relationship with that is.
Right. I find that I find that it's more other people who want to discuss the aspect of women in jazz rather than the actual women themselves. I think that we're just playing, we're just making music, and our gender doesn't play a huge role for us. And I think that, in terms of Artemis, we chose to play together. Granted, it did begin as an all-woman, specifically this promoter wanted an all-woman band. So yeah, it did start with that aspect of gender. But it didn't continue because of that. If we didn't enjoy playing together, we wouldn't be playing together. So the fact that we're out here and we're all women, and I think sometimes people take offense. Usually men, oh, well, I can't play in that band. I'm a guy, Well, it's just absurd. I mean, think about all the male bands there are out here. Do we walk around saying, oh, you're guys, I can't be in that band? I mean, I just never thought that way, and I still don't think that way. I think the music is the bottom line. Again, preparation, do your work, make it so that you're undeniably supposed to be there. It's undeniable that you're great or you're extremely talented and that you have something to say on your instrument or with your voice. And that's why you're there. You're no different than a ballet dancer or Emily Carr or Margaret Atwood or any other person who is of the female gender who partakes in art, in the making of art. Gender, it transcends, the music transcends gender. All art transcends gender. So I really, I don't see the big deal, even though I know that a lot of women have struggled. And there are moments in my life that I can look back and remember an attitude or something subtle happening that I felt was because I was female. And, I just don't put much stock in it, never did. I just feel like I'm just here to make music and that's my job, and take it or leave it. It doesn't, the gender just doesn't really play a role. And even if it does, maybe I do play a piece more gently, or perhaps it encompasses more of a female stereotype of lightness or femininity. Who cares? Bring it on. That's great. Why is that considered negative? It should be, art should reflect all aspects of our lives and of our womanhood or masculinity. You know, whatever it is. Why should there be boundaries based on, you know, what people perceive as being, you know, gender related? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
To that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I think Amanda and I, well, Amanda, you can speak. You spoke a little bit about this, about your last album, working with words. I worked with words as well. And there was a reluctance at first to even share these songs I'm writing with words, you know, because it felt like, I don't know if this is going to be, how this is going to be well received, because it felt like I was tapping in. At the time I was a young mom, and the songs that were coming out of me were just kind of really, they were tender and like intimate. And I was like, I don't know, you know, but I did it anyway. And it was really well received. And it was a bit of a, you know, the worst person is often in your head trying to convince you, just do your thing, make your art, put it out in the world. And, you know, you are who you are, and your experience is your experience in your body and your experience. And so there's so many facets of our personality.
Absolutely.
To be allowed to come out.
That's a beautiful album, by the way. And so is yours, Amanda, Earth Voices as well.
Thank you.
You know, just gorgeous writing and playing. You know, I mean, I think what's important to think about when you're creating or putting something out there, it's about truth. If you're truthful to yourself as an artist, it's going to connect to somebody. Maybe not everybody, but that doesn't matter. You know, we're making art. We're not trying to sell 10 million copies. So, you know, maybe somebody likes foie gras. Maybe more people like a Big Mac, you know. It doesn't really matter. You know, as long as you're being truthful to yourself, I feel that's the most important ingredient in your music. And that will reach someone. People, even audience members, you know, I think a lot of people who listen to jazz, or I should say people who maybe don't listen to jazz, they say, oh, it's too complex. It's too hard to understand. But if there's truth there in the music, it can reach people. You don't need to understand what we're playing in terms of harmony or rhythm or anything. If the music connects, that's all that matters. So for me, that's, and that goes across the board in all genres of music, you know?
Yeah.
Whether we're talking Bob Dylan or Billie Holiday or Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what you hear, how do you connect to it?
Beautifully said.
It's so, I wish you didn't live so far away. We just want to have like coffee with you.
Are we having coffee now?
We are. I'm not. I've already had 2 cups, but I made to have them early so I wasn't too chatty and interrupting you. So, wow. Yeah. Just so, writing from the heart and the authenticity piece. I think that's one of the things that I love about everything you do. It's just very grounded. It's coming from a real sense of like, you know, you're just a very grounded but yet brilliant, like sparkly musician. It's like you're strong in the back and soft in the front. You know, your heart's so open when you play, but there's this power there too. Sorry?
No, I'm making a joke. Never mind.
Oh, make a joke. Well, I didn't hear it. I was too busy. You know, there's a delay. I didn't hear the joke. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, Amanda, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, I really love what you're saying about the, you know, making music from the heart, and then people will connect it, or some people, the people that matter to you will connect with it. And I definitely have, you know, letting go of some thoughts about what I should write, and just letting myself write from the heart, I've definitely seen that just makes for better music for sure all around. So I love what you had to say there. So beautiful. So I wonder if what should we do, Jody? Should we do the take 5 questions?
Yeah. You know what? I think there may be another roundtable discussion about the motherhood stuff, because I think a lot of women in my world who are pondering this life into music also go, well, actually, I want a family too. How do I do those two things? So, and I didn't know what to do. I remember when I was pregnant with my son, I was Googling pregnant bass ladies. I'm like, I don't know. What does this even look like? So that's such a cool story about a Kim playing pregnant and touring pregnant, because I did tour pregnant too, with Seamus Blake and Joel Haynes. And I was 6 and 7 months pregnant doing the touring, and it was quite the experience, but really fun too. Of course, my son came out like snapping his fingers with a good time. But maybe we'll chat about that another time. Maybe we'll have you back on later, maybe with a group of cool jazz women who have ventured into this world, because it's pretty cool that Dylan, your son, was involved on the Artemis album with you. That's correct, right? So he was helping.
Since I was producing the album, I just needed an extra set of ears and hands to log what was happening in sessions, so that I could remember everything, including people's comments about what they liked or didn't like, or what happened this track or that track. So he was very meticulous with his note taking and invaluable to me. So that was really nice.
Great.
As you may or may not know, he's also involved in music. He's at this moment he's has a band called Tula Vera. He's a rock guitar player and a songwriter, and his tastes go way across the board. He's he doesn't play jazz, but he's very familiar with it and can identify musicians and singers. And he's very much a historian of the music too, in the pop world, which is I'm learning a lot from him about that. But he's a very talented young guy, and I just can't wait till this pandemic, as everyone else feels too, is over, so that he can get back to his life and performing. But he does teach guitar, so he's been able to be doing that during this time period as well. But I just feel like everybody's lives are on hold, and it's
true
to make plans and move forward. But growing up or being a mom and having a child as a professional musician it's challenging. There's no doubt about it. And if you're touring, that's a whole other consideration. But I've been lucky enough in both of my marriages. My first marriage to Billy Drummond, a great drummer who's Dylan's dad, and also with Bill, who had 2 girls. So I was stepmom to 2 little girls as well. So it's just a give and take, and you just take every time period as it comes along and do your best. And sometimes, there was compromises where, you wouldn't go out on the road then because the other person was gone and somebody had to be minding the store. So that's that. But I don't regret one moment of any of that, because your children grow up so fast. And, Dylan's 22 now, and it just seems, I would wish I could relive some of those years again. I just felt like they just go by so quickly.
Yeah. My son's 12 now.
To music, as you said, right? You mentioned that it was inspiring you to write a certain way. And I think there's an element to that too. Becoming a parent really just opens up a new world of love.
Yeah. And I mean, I think just when he was really little, watching him create effortlessly and just like explore, I remember just watching him in awe and be like, oh, right. That's it. It's like he was like my teacher, like, do it, just make stuff, don't worry so much, just explore. And so that wonder that he brought back into my life, I'm so grateful for it. It's still there. He's 12. He's awesome. But I've been watching Dylan a little bit, following your career and seeing occasional things on social media about him and following him and just, enjoying watching that. You just be so prolific and knowing you're raising this beautiful young person into being. It's been fun. It's your best art project, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
yes.
There's a song. I did a project with a lyricist named David Haydu, who's also a music critic, and the album is called oh my God,
Ice on the Hudson.
Yes,
Ice on
you.
the Hudson.
I should know these things. Anyway,
You've done 17. That's okay.
There's one song on it called "I Used to Like to Draw." And actually, you could probably look it up on YouTube, but Janice Siegel of Manhattan Transfer, she sings a beautiful rendition of it. We did it during the pandemic. We did a duet. It's also on the album, so you can hear it from the album. But we did one of those live things that wasn't live, where I recorded the piano part and then she recorded the voice over top of it. But anyway, I'm digressing. The song is all about that, and just remembering what it was like when you were a child and how you would just draw and create things and you wouldn't think about it, and this one's a purple frog, this is an astronaut, you're just expressing yourself so naturally, and the song is about that. So if anyone wants to check that out, it's called "I Used to Like to Draw."
I used to like to draw. It's on YouTube, I'm assuming. Yeah. YouTube.
Yeah, both versions are on YouTube.
And of course, Janice is on the record, isn't she? She's singing on the record as well. Yeah. You have a variety of vocalists on that. That's a beautiful record as well. I mean, there's so many beautiful records. I know for me, Ancestors will always be in my heart. 1995, I'm in university, and that one is like stamped. So beautiful. Yeah. So should we do our speed round there, my friend?
Yes.
We always do, we like to wrap things up with a bit of a speed round, just to getting to know our guest speed round. Okay. So there's kind of short answers, although, if you want to expand, you can, but
all right.
Yeah.
What is it? What is your favorite swear word?
Oh. All right. Well, here's
if this was like a podcast, maybe we would do that for sure.
So here's our first question then. So what do you miss most about living in Vancouver?
I miss my family, I miss my friends, and I miss being close to nature. I miss being able to go for a walk on the seawall or go up Grouse Mountain. That's my short answer.
So many good things.
Yeah. Amanda, do you miss it too?
Yeah, all those same things.
You guys can always move back here. I'd be fine with that. Anyway, you can stay at my place. We have a guest room. What is your favorite venue to play in?
I would say the Village Vanguard Club. The sound is just so beautiful. The shape of the club is a triangle, and I think there's just something about the shape of the room that allows the musician performing as well as the audience to just hear in a very clear way, and also because of the history of the club and the spirits that you feel inhabit that space. When you go on stage to play, there's a part of it that just feels sacred. It's like a sacred experience. So I would have to say.
Yeah, amazing. So who are the three people that lit the spark in music for you as a young musician? I know you mentioned Bob Rigliotti.
Yeah,
hopefully I said that right.
Bob Rigliotti would be my first choice there, because without him, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing today. Probably a bassist in Vancouver named Wyatt Ruther, who
What?
lived there. Did you ever meet him, Jody?
I never met him, but I have listened. Well, I'm very close with Ollie as well, Ollie and
Sure.
Patty.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so just through the recordings, I never did meet him, but obviously his spirit looms large
Yeah.
in Vancouver.
He was a bit of a mentor for me when I first
Mm.
started to work on the scene. We would play duets together in various venues, and he just taught me a lot about just how to dig in and play and learn songs and be spontaneous. And he had a very gentle way about him, but he made a big impact on me. And the third person, I think, would be Oliver Gannon, whom you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Oliver and Patty were dear friends, or are. Of course, Patty's
Yes.
no longer with us, but Oliver, just Oliver's beautiful spirit playing, and the experiences I had when I lived there playing with him. We didn't only just play jazz. We had a Brazilian group together for a while, where I learned a lot of Brazilian songs, and I'm still very influenced by Brazilian music and Brazilian musicians. Love that art form. So,
Ollie, I'm gonna start crying. I love him so much. Patty, I was playing outside a grocery store in White Rock the first time I met Patty. And she came up to me. I was playing electric bass with my high school combo in front of the Save On Food. Or no, it would have been, I don't remember what it was. It was a Safeway or something. Opening, and she comes barreling up to me, says, "Who are you?" "My name's Patty." And Ollie kind of comes up behind her and says, I knew of Ollie. Anyway, I'll never forget that first meeting. She was just, I miss her so much.
she was effervescent.
Just a delight.
Player too.
Great and singer.
Yeah.
The two of them are just, they're, mentors, and I want to be them when I grow up kind of people. Yeah. Okay. Amazing. So, Renee, maybe you have a hobby or interest outside music that you love that maybe we don't know about.
Well,
or maybe you don't.
A few, but they're just kind of commonplace. I love cooking, especially during this time period. I've been trying a lot of different recipes, and I love to eat, so I enjoy trying different things, and so cooking, gardening. This time of year, there's not much to do, but not like out in Vancouver. But I do love gardening, and I love photography as well. So
photography,
yeah,
amazing. You guys should follow Instagram, Renee's Instagram, because she always posts these beautiful photographs of travels around the world. It's like a nature fest. It's beautiful. Plus, great vault photos. You posted one of Joe Henderson dancing at a discotheque.
Oh, yeah. That was
love that. It's like a history.
Joe Chambers and Rufus Reid in a disco. Yeah.
So good. So good.
So I'm wondering, we do have just a couple questions from people tuning in. I wonder if we could get you to answer those if there's a little bit of time.
No problem.
Yeah. So question one is, did you ever meet or hang with Miles Davis?
I did not. Although I do have one small Miles Davis story, which I've actually never shared with anyone.
Scoop.
The first album I played on was an album with a tenor player named Gary Thomas. The album's called Seventh Quadrant. And he was working with Miles at the time, and he gave Miles a copy of his album, his new album, to listen to. And evidently, through Gary, he said Miles really dug my playing. And he said he asked for my phone number, And so Gary said, don't be surprised if you get a call from Miles Davis. So that was my one big Miles Davis story. And I did not receive a call from Miles Davis. And I've never shared that story because it seems like it's not really that important. But anyway, that's...
Oh, it's important.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Amazing. Well, another question someone asked, what advice would you give to emerging jazz composers in terms of getting your works out there? How do you get your works out there?
I don't know. My initial reaction to that is don't worry about getting your works out there, because it will happen sooner or later if the quality is there. So I would just say work on your craft, and when the time comes for you to be able to make a recording, or you feel that you're ready to make a recording, the recording will get your work out there. And you'll be able to do that when the time is right for you, whenever that is. But if you're quite a young musician and you're just working at developing your craft, I think that's a good place to be when you're young. Is don't worry so much about exposure at that time. Really, the important thing is to develop and grow and become the best musician you can be, so that when you have the opportunity to finally record, that you're putting out the best that you can do at that particular time, and people will hear it and gravitate towards it.
Great advice. Focus on the craft.
And then I think we have one more question from Buckingham Palace out in Calgary. So Terry Lynn Carrington says she didn't realize all the subtext that ran through her head when she played in a group with women. Sorry, until she played. Let me start that over. Terry Lynn Carrington says she didn't realize all the subtext that ran through her head until she played in a group with women. And she felt freed from these messages that were going in her head. Actually, she's playing in groups with other male musicians. Has this been an experience for you? Or how can you relate to this?
I not really, only because I'm not sure what subtext she's referring to. If she's talking about maybe negative thoughts, I don't know. I can't really relate to that. I mean, only if specific moments where things might have happened, but I'm talking about really specific moments, not in general. I mean, when I go on the bandstand to play, I'm just really trying to think about the music and nothing else. But if somebody had an attitude at one time or was not kind, yeah, those moments do happen sometimes, and you have to really just combat that with excellence. The power of the music has to speak to that.
That's a good statement to end with.
Combat that with excellence. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Renee. And I don't know if there's anything you want to just let the audience know that's coming up. I know there were some links to the show you did with Ron Carter, filmed yesterday, I think you said, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so actually, it was filmed a few months ago, but they filmed it yesterday. So yeah.
So I think.
Well, there's maybe one other thing I could mention, which is that I'm sure you both are familiar with or knew Shannon Gunn, my wonderful friend and vocalist who passed away last July. And I just want to let everybody know that there was an album we recorded back in 2002 with Brad Turner, Neil Swainson, on drums, Pat LaBarbera, and myself, and we resurrected it, and it never was released. And Corey Weeds of Cellar Jazz is in September or October, I think. And it's just a beautiful album, and it makes me so sad that she wasn't around to enjoy that. I'm not sure why she really didn't release it, but it definitely deserves to be heard by everyone, and I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of the work that she did. And it includes 3 compositions of her own, and she wrote both the lyrics and the music, and she was really a wonderful composer. And again, I feel like it's so tragic that she's gone now, and that was recorded literally 20 years ago, and all the music and recordings she could have been doing after that. She was really quite, I think, a more remarkable musician and singer than people understood. And at least there's this single kind of recorded document of her work that will finally come out and stand in, be her legacy, part of her legacy. And so I'm really excited about that. But I just wanted to put it out there so people can look forward to hearing it.
Amazing. It makes me think of this moment. I remember watching, I think it was John Lennon, a week before he was killed, having a conversation with his son, Sean. It was like a little video that was in a documentary where Sean was singing his songs, like one of his Beatles tunes. And John Lennon said, I don't remember who wrote that one. If it was me or Paul, I don't remember. But I remember when Tristan was really young, and I leaned over to my husband and said, he lost his dad a week later, but he has the art forever. And it reminds, this is like a beautiful way of keeping Shannon's spirit alive for all of us who are, especially those who had her, intimately in their life, but for the rest of us too, because again, her impact lives large in Canadian jazz in particular as an educator. And there's a lot of people who really love her. So thank you to you for helping bring this forward. This is a really important way of us all being able to tap into her spirit, even with her not being with us anymore.
Yes.
So it's beautiful.
I'm happy about it.
Yay. Yay to Corey.
Yes. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we'll make sure, maybe we can have you back on when that comes out, and you can talk about Shannon.
I would love to do that. We could do a listening session maybe or something.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, before we go, I just want to say what fans I am of you both and the music that you're making and the beautiful albums that you've put out over the years. And, the Earth Voice is the last album, I guess. Is that your last album, Amanda?
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple months ago released. Yeah.
Very beautiful work, and Sunsongs as well. Just
thank you.
It's great. I'm, yay. keep on making beautiful music.
Yeah, we'll just keep on making stuff. Yeah, and sharing. So exciting.
Likewise, and likewise, Renee, thank you so much, because I really, we really did mean it at the beginning how such a huge influence your music and your playing, your compositions have been on us. So thank you so much for that, and for doing this today, for being here with us and celebrating International Women's Day.
Great way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Yay!
Absolutely. Amazing.
Yay.
Well, take care, and
until we see you back in Toronto or Vancouver, we'll make sure to come in.
Artemis,
November 12th.
Kerner
yes.
Hall.
Amazing. Well, we'll put the link in the chat for sure.
Massey Theater, right? Massey?
Kerner
no,
or Kerner Hall.
Yeah.
Kerner Hall. Perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah, beautiful Kerner Hall. That's amazing. Yes. Take good care of yourself, Renee. Thank you. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye for now. Bye.